Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books. What a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together. What a yummy snack.
Well, good morning or good afternoon or evening, whenever it is that you're joining us here on PBJamz. We're so excited to be here with you today. I am here with Delia Ruiz again for the second time on PBJamz, and I'm thrilled to welcome her back. This time we're talking about her picture book, ROQUI'S Pandeiro Beat. So welcome, Delia.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, and I'm so happy to be back.
It's always good to talk with you. So fun. It's been a while since we were together. So Delia had a baby last time, and now she's got probably close to a toddler now at this point.
Yeah.
Crazy how it happens so fast. But yeah, welcome back. So glad you're here. Let's chat about ROQUI'S Pandeiro Beat. Talk to us about the inspiration and anything you want to tell us about the journey of this book. How did it come to be?
Yeah, so this was my first book. It was published back in 2021, but obviously with writing and publishing, you start the draft idea many years before that. So I was actually in the classroom almost 10 years ago now, and I saw that there was just a lack of books written by authors that resembled my students. So I know oftentimes I would just grab books for read alouds and I would just translate on the spot for my students. And in my classroom, I taught English as a second language, and an area where my students needed a lot of guidance in was reading. And so I was just brainstorming as a teacher, thinking, what could I use to just help them with syllable practice, in order to just reinforce some of those skills in a fun and engaging way. And so at that time, most of my students were from Puerto Rico. And so I created a book. I drafted out an idea inspired by music, which we'll see here. The music is on bomba y plena, a genre from Puerto Rico. And so I reached out to a bomba y plena band from Virginia to just look over the book, look over the terminology, look over the musical instruments, just the whole book. And it was quite a learning experience to just put it all together and get it, drafted and then get it through a print run and go get a Library of Congress number. I was like, what is this? What is that? How do I make this happen? So the book was self-published. It was my first book. Um, and after it just all came together and it finally was published in 2021, I can now read it with my kid. I am now raising a bilingual, bicultural baby, and so I get to share that story with him today. So there's been so much inspiration along the way, and now it's like it's here, it's a life book, and this year it'll be like the fourth anniversary of it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's a great story. I think, and just I know I'm putting you off the cuff here, but I think people don't realize always how much research we have to do as authors. It's not sometimes it's just putting a story down on the page and it's happened to us or somebody we know and it's just putting it down on paper. But a lot of times we are having to seek out those experts and do a lot of reading and a lot of research behind the scenes before we can ever bring a book together. I would say most of the time. And even if it's something that happened to us, like you were saying, sometimes we still have to go do some background research on a particular part of that maybe we're not as familiar with. So thanks for bringing that out. That's important.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You're right. There's so much more to just writing the story. There's always that research component and reaching out, and then just even having critique partners or other people just take a second look at it before, it goes to that official copy.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Well, let's dig into the music part of it a little bit more. Talk to us about this book is full of music, so let's talk about that part of it.
Yeah, so you can find the music just sprinkled from beginning to end. You know, at the start of the story, we have the main character, which is a little frog named Roki, who hears this beat playing as he's waking up. And then we see that it was actually the dad playing the hand drum, which is called a pandero, in the kitchen, just tapping away. And then we see the little frog just carry that dream of wanting to play this hand drum off to school, sharing it with classmates, and sharing this repetitive syllable beat that is along in many of the pages. And so it just kind of comes all together, and we see that big musical scene at the end of sharing the music with the community. So, yeah, I feel like there's music sprinkled throughout the book, whether it's through a beat, whether it's through illustrations of musical instruments, whether it's through the text of sharing what are they playing, what is this musical genre. And then I think the fun part of it all is just sprinkling this beat that when I do read aloud, I have kids clap along with me or tap along with me or do some sort of repetitive just to practice that syllable component that I like sprinkled in there throughout the pages.
Yeah, it's a really lovely way to bring literacy and music together. What is what PBJamz is really all about is bringing together those picture books that do sprinkle music either throughout or have that musical theme. And this one it's full of that. And I know as an elementary music teacher, like that's one of the things that we really focus on is getting kids to recognize the steady beat and to do some simple rhythms and things like that. So this is really a perfect book for teachers to use in the classroom, especially at the primary, preschool, primary, and elementary level. Yeah. So full of music.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
are
I think when you're like I'm like in teacher brain mode even outside of the classroom, and I always think if I'm pulling this book, what am I gonna do with it? What's it going,
yeah,
what can I show my kid? And so I feel like I'm still in that mood. And then there's times for like great read alouds, you know, that don't have to be tied to standard, but this is just one that like it's a fun one that you can tie it in. And it's a fun one that I love to do with on read alouds.
yeah, yeah. That's a great point. Like the picture books are good just for their own sake, but for us as authors, like we know the more layers we put in there, the more useful it's going to be to a variety of people. So you have
Hmm.
all these layers in there. You have the Hispanic layer, you have the music layer, and then you have just the story layer. And then as we were talking before we started the recording, there's this sub layer of this frog who is kind of a little concerned that he's not up to the task. He's not quite big enough. He's not quite strong enough. He's not, he's got these big shoes to fill, and is he going to be
Hmm.
enough? And so you have that really a social emotional piece there as well in terms of that his concern that he's not going to be big enough to do what he needs to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that you touched on that because there are a couple of big things that are covered in the book. Like you said, SEL, social emotional learning, is touched on a little bit. There's also like the journey of moving from one place to another, the musical component. Just there's so many layers to the story that I feel like yeah, it touches on syllables. Yes, it touches on culture and music. But then we can also break it apart and explore the book deeper. Like, could we do a whole unit on just the instruments now? Could we touch on just the experience of what is it like to move from a new place to another? Um, and so, yeah, it was fun to sprinkle those elements in. And so I feel like when you do things like that, it allows for a greater use of the book.
Yeah.
And I was kind of hoping to do that as well with this book.
Yeah, I think that's fabulous. I think you did that. And I think that's one thing we often hear as authors when we're getting feedback from agents and editors is like, it needs more layers, it needs more depth, it
Mhm.
needs more hooks. So you've done a great job with that. That's awesome. So when you think about people sharing this book, teachers, families, people who are reading this book aloud to children, what is one thing maybe that you hope that they're gonna absolutely pay attention to? Maybe it's a little hidden nugget that you're worried they might miss, but you want to make sure that people notice that and share it with kids.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be just the overall theme, which we touched on a little bit. And that is the overall theme is to dream big. And so I it just made myself a little tote bag with that message because it reminds me of my first book and it reminds me of the theme of this story. But it's just to hold on to that dream that no matter how big or small you are, no matter how big or small the dream is, it's attainable, whether that's a giant leap or baby steps along the way, just holding on to that message of dreaming big. And so I have a little tote bag that actually has this little character and the message, and it's a bag that I carry everywhere. I don't even carry a purse. I carry this tote bag, and my kid constantly like sees it. We point at it. We read the book together, so he knows it's the little frog from the story. But I think just holding on to that message because it's relatable to kids and adults that no matter the age or anything, like we can always go after those dreams. And, hopefully it's inspiring to others, whether all readers, whether they're big or small, kids or adults, just to remember to hold on to those things and continue to go after them.
Yeah, we're never too old or too young or too big or too small to have a big dream. I love that. Yeah, great. Love it. Well, so it's been a while since we chatted, Dilly. So tell us what's new, what's coming, what are you excited about? Any new books coming down the pipeline or events that are going to be coming up? I think this episode is going to air May 15th. Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
May
that's
15th.
a great question. There's always something coming up.
Right?
Right. So this year, I don't have books that are coming out. I am celebrating just the fourth anniversary of this first book, ROQUI'S Pandero Beat. And for next year, I feel like we'll be a little bit busier. I have three books coming out. One being a board book on just moon phases with the food
Oh, fun.
component. And then the other two are picture books. So one is a quinceañera story, and the other book is one very close to me. I feel like as authors, we always have like that book of our heart, and I'm glad at least mine is gonna be out next year, and that's a father-daughter relationship story touching on the five love languages.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so that'll be next year, 2026. So next year is probably going to be a little bit busy. I haven't started planning like what am I going to do with release. I'm just like taking the time, enjoying it as it is in the present. But I do also have an unannounced 2027 project. So yeah, I feel like as authors, we're always writing and we're keeping on going, whether things are on sub or whatever it may be. I think the writing component for me is still just like a stress reliever and just a fun thing. So for me, it's a plus when those stories get to be out and
Yeah.
be published. In the meantime, I'm sure many authors as well have so many stories on the side of like maybe one day they'll come out. So yeah, in the meantime, I'm just gonna be keep writing away and we'll see what happens in the following years too.
Awesome. Can you shout out the titles of those three upcoming next year?
Yeah, so the board book one is called Moon Chef and it kind of matches with the theme with the faces of the moon and the different foods as well. And I don't have the exact pub date for that one, but in 2026 it'll be coming out. The Quinceañera story, I don't know if they finalized the title. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's My Sister's Quinceañera is the final title version. And then the father-daughter story on love languages that is called Ways Papi Says I Love You. And so you'll get to see all the five love languages sprinkled throughout as they ride through town, basically.
Oh, I love that. I love the five love languages. It's such an important concept and really great. How nice to introduce kids to that early. That's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have been seeing just some articles and things of like how kids have their own ways
Yeah,
of telling you they love you and I feel like picture books are for everyone. So it'll be applicable to any adult reader as well, going back and
absolutely.
looking at different ways that we can show love to one another.
Yeah, and it's really important, I think, too, to recognize how people need to be loved also, right? Like, I mean, we all have a way that we best receive love and really feel loved when so we each have our own language that we receive love better. It's important to know that about and there are articles and things about your kids as well and how they best receive love. And how important is that as a parent to be able to give your child the love in the way that they need and to be able to recognize what that is. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's definitely one that I'm super, super excited about. So yeah, I know next year's probably going to be a busy one for me with like trying to manage the release of these books. But yeah,
No,
it's
that's a
super
lot.
exciting as
That's
well.
a lot, and you'll have a toddler to boot. You're going to have your hands quite full in
Oh my
2026.
gosh, yes. But it's also fun. I feel like
Of course.
marketing and just like going out and actually meeting readers and seeing friends and family hold your book. I think that's the exciting stage as well.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So my debut, comes out next year, so I'll be out there with you. Yeah, yeah. So it is exciting to I'm almost to that point. I got to see my sketches for the first time
Oh
just a
my
couple of weeks
gosh.
ago. I know, right? Like, oh my goodness. So yeah, it is a super exciting phase, and I'm looking forward to getting out there and being able to share. So yeah, I hear what you're saying about that. So you guys listen up because Delia's going to be on the move next year, 2026. She's got a lot of good things happening. We're going to link up all her socials below, so make sure you check all of that out. And Delia, we didn't talk about a giveaway before we came on camera. Did you want to do a giveaway for Roki?
Yeah, I would love to just give a book away. I'll do a signed copy to any reader. And yeah, just keep me touched on who the winner is, and I'll mail it out with some goodies.
Awesome. So you heard it here. A free book going out to one winner. You can be eligible if you just leave a comment here on the blog. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you scoot over to the blog. The link is in the description. And make sure you leave a comment there. That giveaway will be open through June 4th. June 4th. So get your comments in by June 4th at 11:59 on June 4th, and we will choose a winner for a free book and some goodies from Delia. And also, just while I have you here, let me just remind you that authors love to get good reviews. So if you read Roki or Delia's other board book series that we talked about earlier on PBJamz, or any author's books, just please leave them reviews. You can go to Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. That really helps them. So if you read something you enjoy from an author, please do reviews. Word of mouth is one of the greatest ways that you can share. I was just sharing with Delia about Stomping at the Savoy that we did on PBJamz a little while back because I think it relates to her book. I think she would enjoy that. So that word of mouth is super valuable to authors. Make sure you share this book or any others that you think someone would particularly enjoy. Requesting it at your library and your local bookstore are also ways that you can help sharing it out on social media. Be sure to share this episode of PBJamz with somebody that you think might enjoy that. That'll help all of us out as well. So thank you guys for joining us here. Delia, thank you for being here for another episode of PBJamz.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited we get to share books next year together. And I'm so excited to get yours as well.
Oh, thank you. It's going to be such fun. Hopefully we'll cross paths in our marketing and touring activities. Yeah,
Oh,
that'd be
yes,
great.
yes, definitely.
Yeah, I would love to meet you live and in person. That would be awesome.
Oh my gosh, yes. We'll have to get together to see like where are you doing any type of bookish events, and maybe we will cross paths at some point too.
I hope so. Yeah, that would be great. Well, hopefully you guys will cross paths with us too. We hope to see you out on the road or next time on PB Jams. Bye.
Singing and dancing.